John here for Ugly Thirds Loose Threads, where we do the DIY and the maintenance of hockey jerseys. So I have a Philip Forsberg jersey, and I have the Predators 25th anniversary patch, which is a great looking patch. And I wanted to put it on, and I was just going to show, like, okay, how's it any different getting through the Adidas shoulders? But then I bought a heat press. And this thing has changed my life on how I do my sewing. It's made things so much easier, but it is not perfect, and there certainly is a bit of a learning curve. So today I want to use this to put this on the shoulder here, and I want to use the heat press in order to do it and go through a little bit of how that works as far as a guide for anyone out there trying to follow along. This is a Vevor heat press. Got it for about $110 off of eBay. For one of the more corporate things. So I guarantee you can find ones like it. If not this exact one, I highly recommend it. Again, it has made life a lot easier. Super easy to use. And I like it. And no money has exchanged hands other than what I spent on this. So, not sponsored content, though. If they'd ever want to, I am listening. I like it. I like the product. All right, so this is the heat press. There's a little backer thing. That's the actual heating element. Well, I guess the electricity. And here's the heating element, rubber pad, which is very mobile. Look, I don't know a lot of the intricacies of this, and the instructions were very brief. I know I can add more pressure with this. Yeah, well, anyways. 340 for 25 seconds is what I read online. So I'm going to take this out of the packaging. We're going to align it, and we'll press it down. Another element of this are these Teflon pillows, and I just bought a random set off of Amazon. There are dozens just like it, and I don't think one to another matters. But these are coated, and they dissipate heat, and the idea is that you can't press the front to the back. It protects the rest of it, and being that it's on a shoulder, and what I've seen so far is the heat press can create interesting creases that you can get out with more pressing, but I'm going to try and avoid. So this is going to be on the inside of the jersey when I have it down, but I'm not going to try and show me finagling it in there. I'm going to get it aligned and skip ahead just for brevity's sake. Okay, so it goes on this shoulder, and I simply aligned it with the patch on the other side. Knowing that the crease is going to be in there, the seam is going to be in there because this is just how Adidas is constructed. And because that seam is so weird, I actually aligned it more with the center of the 9. And I think that should do. Now, I am thinking that this here could be melted. I think it's sublimated. So I'm going to put some tissue paper down on all of this, just to give it some insulation. And I like these numbers. I don't know what's plastic and what's not anymore, so I'm going to put some paper down on that as well, even though I think that's going to be outside the bounds of the press itself. But I am not going to play around with that. And okay, so 340, 25 seconds. You may see a clock wipe here, because why put you through that? But let's go ahead and put this on. And that is very much on. Ooh, that is hot. Actually, that's way hotter than the other things I've dealt with. Looks like no damage to be done. The dimples look fine. Yeah, I mean, they're like, oh, are they a little? No, that's about how they look. I'll put a close up here. But I am satisfied with that. I mean, that is on. You actually could just leave it like that, and I think most of the pro shops would. So like I said, that is on. Like, you don't actually need to stitch it. And I was worried that, oh, maybe some of these dimples look less dimply. No, I'd say that's about the same. So no damage had. That's how it's supposed to be done. I'm going to put a stitch on it regardless because I just feel that that's a much safer option. So let's do that. All right, time to put this on. Now, I stitch it on the outside, and it's silver. My mother told me this, Rester, that silver thread is not great in the bobbin, so I actually have a gray thread underneath, and you're never going to see it other than when you look inside out, because it doesn't come through. It's what holds it on underneath. So that's not going to affect anything, but it is slightly different than usual because usually you want the matching just in case something peeks through. But you use gray, so if it does, no one's the wiser. I'm going to try and go the easy route and use the collar on this. And let's get this, as always, we are looking to stitch on and off, though I don't think it matters. I think this is pretty well bound. It's not going to fray, but that's the way to do it to get it on most effectively. Okay, now the great thing about the heat press is that this is very firmly glued on the whole way around. If you're not using a heat press, I have my fabric fusion that I use for everything. It works super well. You glue it down, but you want to make sure there's not any glue around, seeping out the outside. So it's not as perfect. And what you don't want is any stretching of the fabric, because the patch is not going to stretch. And if the fabric stretches, but the patch doesn't, and you sew it that way, then it's going, when it tries to relax, it's not going to be able to. It's going to have a permanent pucker there. And the heat press simply takes that away. With it being glued down, there's no chance. And so I don't have to worry near as much about it moving or wrinkling as I move this around. And that is so freeing and makes this so much easier, and why I love the heat press. So get one, get any. If you're going to do this, as I've said, with EPS being $100 and number kits from Customized Sports being $50, I do 2 jerseys. I paid it off. Every bit of this is just extra as far as I'm concerned. So that's going to be the difference here. I'm going to switch to a close-up so you can see it just a little better. So like times like this, moving it around, I don't have to worry about it stretching. I also usually would make sure my needle is in the patch to hold it on better. I don't have to worry about that this time, which is very nice. Oh, and that... Well, so I've always been told that the silver thread is much more delicate, and it broke. So I'm going to rethread this. Okay. Alright, so first the thread broke and then the bobbin ran out, so let's try and finish this third time, huh? Alright, so patch is on and looking good. The metallic silver thread made that rather difficult. The patch itself, the shape, and anything else. And the heat press made it so that even with all those difficulties, I didn't have to worry about it moving around, and it sure didn't. So very happy about that one. With that said, I have an interesting patch on an otherwise okay jersey, and very happy for that. So, putting a heat press, highly recommend. Putting a patch on the Adidas shoulder, not a big deal, unless you're using silver thread, and then your mileage may vary. That's going to wrap it up for me. I'm John here on Loose Threads for Ugly Thirds. You have a good one.